My name is Janelle Lafreniere. I'll be talking to you guys today about the interview process. I'm just gonna make you guys smaller here. Okay, so yeah, I'm a fourth year student at the University of Alberta. My major is in biological sciences and I have a minor in psychology. And I decided to apply to 5 schools. And I'm sure you guys have already had a presentation about the application process and all that fun stuff. But I actually took my OAT in the summer of my 3rd year. And then I applied in the fall of my 4th year, so this past fall here. So yeah, I applied to University of Waterloo in Canada, and then 4 schools in the States. So I chose MCPHS in Worcester, Massachusetts, SCCO or Marshall B. Ketchum in Fullerton, California, as well as Indiana University and Houston College of Optometry. All right, so after you sent in your applications, I sent mine in, I would say about October. The interview offers started to trickle in through email. So the first school that I heard back from was MCPHS. And I got offered an interview around December, and I had an opportunity to book that interview. And so how it worked was you got an email saying that they wanted to interview you, and then you followed a link, and basically they gave you a selection of some dates and times that you could pick from. And so you only had a short window. So I think you had like an option of like 2 weeks worth of dates that you could pick from, seeing as it is rolling admission. So, they select applicants as the applications come in. And so this was kind of, a bad time for me because it was right during final season, but I mean, you make it work as best as you can. So I scheduled my interview for the end of December. And then for the University of Waterloo, they had sent me an email in January inviting me for a meet and greet. So that was very exciting as well. And then I also got an interview offer in January for SCCO in California. So I gotten 3 interview offers. So starting with MCPHS, so it was a 2-part interview. So the first part, it was a one-on-one interview on Zoom. They do tell you in the email to prepare for about an hour of questions. However, I found that that really wasn't my experience. It was more of like 25 minutes of questions, followed by just like discussion at the end. A period where you could ask any questions to him about, the program, the school, or any other questions you had, which was really nice. And just to give you guys an idea of the types of questions that they ask you, it never fails in all of my interviews. They always ask me the first question, tell me about yourself and why did you choose optometry? Those are the 2 big questions that they ask you. And I mean, these questions are really just, to get to know you outside of your application. I think they really want to know like who you are as a person. Do you have a life outside of school? Just to kind of figure out if you have a good like work-life balance. And then of course they ask you, why should we choose you? As well as an ethical question. And for the ethical question, I was a little weary about, what to expect for that question. And for MCPHS, how it worked was he actually gave me the choice between the questions that I wanted. So I got to pick a number between 1 and 4, if you want to call that a choice. So I did. And yeah, my question was, if I can remember correctly, it was a scenario. So they said in the scenario that you had a patient as an optometrist who was older and they failed their visual field. And so you had to remove their license. You had to let them know that they wouldn't be able to drive anymore. And so you answer that as best as you can. So it's that type of like ethical question, which I was expecting something more along the lines of, if you catch a student cheating, what do you do? So, but yeah, he was really awesome about that. And then the second part of the interview for MCPHS was directly after the one-on-one interview, and it was actually just a writing sample. So following your interview, one of the admissions members would send you out a link to a page, and you had a list of, I think it was 4 or 5 questions you could choose from, and you would pick one and you would answer it within that 30-minute time frame, and it would automatically get submitted to them for review. And honestly, it wasn't that difficult. I think my question that I chose was, do you think, do you think that grades should hold a heavier weight than experience when applying to optometry school? So just those types of questions. So after my interview, I found out within a week whether I got in or not. And so they send you an admission offer, and you have 2 weeks to accept that offer from the time that they offered it to you. So if you choose to accept the offer, you need to pay a $750 non-refundable deposit fee, and that is in USD. So after the conversion, it's about $900 right now. So that's to secure your spot. Otherwise, if you don't pay that fee within the 2 weeks, it kind of counts as, retracting your application. Okay, as for the University of Waterloo, this one was, I don't know. Okay, so I'm going to say that I found that the communication was a lot harder with the University of Waterloo. For one thing, I didn't realize that the one-on-one interview wasn't going to be in person. So the one-on-one interview was actually not via Zoom. So your one-on-one interview is the snapshot Casper test that you take along with your Casper test. So I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with the application process. So you have to take the Casper test, which is the 12 questions with the video series. And after the Casper test, I think this is new with the University of Waterloo with COVID. They want you to take a snapshot test as well. And so the snapshot test is 3 questions, and it's a one-way interview. So how it works is you click the record button and your question pops up, and you have 2 minutes to record yourself answering that question as best as you can. You don't have an opportunity to rewatch yourself answering the question. It just moves on to the next one. So it's very quick, very short and sweet. And actually at the time, I didn't know that was the one-on-one interview. I found out about it after. So that was kind of nerve-wracking. But I did still receive a meet and greet afterwards. So, I must have done all right on it. So yeah, you find out around the end of November whether you get a meet and greet. And the meet and greet isn't any kind of one-on-one interview. It's not any kind of interaction. It's just a link that you have special access to, which gives you access to video recordings about their program, their curriculum, really any kind of questions you have about the University of Waterloo, financials, all that kind of stuff. So that was the meet and greet. And after that, you don't really hear much until the end of March. So I'm still waiting to hear back from them whether I've been accepted or not. So that's very exciting. I should be hearing about that probably in the next 2 weeks here. So yeah, that was the University of Waterloo. And then finally, for SCCO in California, this was also a 2-part interview process. However, it was on 2 separate days. So part 1, I chose to do it on Wednesday. So same idea as MCPHS. You had the option of selecting your date and your time for the interview. And one thing I do want to point out that I almost made the mistake on was be sure to check the time zone differences when you're booking your appointment. I almost scheduled an interview for 7 in the morning. So definitely a good thing to check before you schedule your appointment to make sure that you're converting it to your time zone as well. So this interview was a Zoom call, same thing as MCPHS, and it actually consisted of 5 other applicants on the Zoom call. So there was 5 students, and then each student was assigned a faculty member to do the interview. So how they do it is they start off with everyone in the same room, everyone gets introduced, and then they they assign students to one interviewee, and then you go in your private breakout rooms. And this one was more an hour long of questions. So this one is a little more intense. Same questions, like I said, they always ask you, tell me about yourself and why did you choose optometry? there's always going to be at least one ethical question. If what I had done to prepare for the interview was I actually Googled, I went on YouTube, I went on Google, and I searched up, optometry school questions that are frequently asked. And I just wrote them all down. And I wrote down like my answers for them. And then I had just practiced them with my mom. She would ask me the questions and I would respond. I think that's a really good way to prepare, because some of these questions, you think, oh, that's easy to answer, but when you're actually put on the spot, it's good to rehearse, because sometimes you're like, oh, wait, how do I answer that? Especially the question, why should we choose you? I was like, oh, I don't know. So it's good to prepare for the interviews. And of course, at the end of our one-on-one interviews, so after our breakout rooms, we were put back in the main room, and they actually explained to us what to expect for the second part of the interview, which actually was the next day. So that was really nice. We knew what we were going into the next day, so it was nice to have that. And yeah, so part two is the next night. And that was just basic information similar to Waterloo, just information about their program. You had the opportunity to meet the dean, meet the admissions team. And we also had the opportunity to talk to a first and third year student there, and ask them any questions that we had. So that was really nice. I really appreciated that, because you had the opportunity to not only meet the staff there, but also, you know, the opportunity to speak to students firsthand, how they think the school is. So that was really nice. And actually, the next day, they were very quick. They got back to you the next day about whether you got in or not. So they were very efficient. And same thing, you have 2 weeks to pay that $750 non-refundable deposit. So one thing to keep in mind is that end of December, I had received the offer for MCPHS, and so I accepted their offer, because at this time I didn't receive any other offers for any other schools. So I had accepted their offer, and with SCCO coming in January, I still went to the interview. However, I turned it down because I already accepted MCPHS, and for other reasons. I just decided MCPHS was the better choice for me. And as I said, I'm still waiting to hear back from the University of Waterloo whether I got in or not. So that's all I have for a presentation, short and sweet. But I usually find that, having the opportunity to ask questions is usually where you guys get the most out of it. So yeah, I will open the floor to any questions that you guys have. Oh, and also, sorry, this is my email up here. Feel free to email me if you guys have any questions, even other than about the interview process. If you guys have any questions about the application process, anything, feel free to reach out to me, and I'd be more than happy to talk to you guys. I'm gonna stop sharing here. Maybe I'll leave it up for my email. No questions?
I just wanted to start off by saying congrats on all the offers you got from those schools. And just a quick question. So I know you're waiting on Waterloo's response, but so if Waterloo accepted you, would you choose Waterloo or stick with MCPHS, and why would you choose which one?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So I would definitely, for me, everyone has, different opinions, but for me, the biggest thing is the money. When you compare, the cost of tuition to go to the States versus the cost of tuition to attend Waterloo, you can't even compare it. It's crazy. So I would definitely accept University of Waterloo's offer if they, offered it to me. And I can a little bit elaborate on why I chose MCPHS over SCCO. So that was a really tough decision, because, of course, I had already accepted MCPHS, and you did have to pay, $1,000 to secure your spot. And so in my mind, University of Waterloo being my top choice, I thought it was really silly, for one, to pay the deposit for MCPHS, lose that deposit, pay for SCCO, and if I got into the University of Waterloo, then I would lose that deposit as well, just to pay another deposit to go to the University of Waterloo. So that's why I chose MCPHS over SCCO. And yeah, I mean, Waterloo, one, it's in Canada, so you don't have to worry about, traveling borders right now with COVID. So that's one thing. Uh, Financials is a big one for sure. And yeah, that's really the biggest thing for me. Um, yeah, that's my biggest thing. Hope that answers your question.
Yeah, it does. Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Well, I have a quick question.
Mhm.
Now, looking back at the interviews, do you think you could have done something a little bit differently while preparing that would have kind of helped you?
Um, it's a good question. Um, I think that what would have helped me, maybe a little more would have been if I had recorded myself answering the interview questions. I had just practiced, with my mom back and forth, but I had heard that it was very beneficial to record yourself because sometimes you don't notice, how you hold yourself. Sometimes you slouch or you talk a lot with your hands. So I would probably, if I could do it over, I would do that because sometimes I am French, so I talk a lot with my hands. So I'm sure I did that a little too much, but yeah. So I would recommend recording yourself just to reflect on, uh, how you're holding yourself, how you're talking. Yeah.
Hi there. I just had a quick question.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I actually have my interviews next week, on Monday and on Wednesday. So I just had a question, like, how you said that there are those like kind of set questions, like tell me about yourself, why optometry, those
Yeah.
kinds of questions, and then it's followed by the conversation kind of aspect of that. Like, what is that about? Like, is that just an opportunity for you to ask questions yourself?
Yeah, so it's about 25 minutes. Of course, they ask you more questions than the ones that I had shared. But the after period, they usually end the interview by saying, those are all the questions I had for you. Do you have any questions for me? Um, so this was, what I had asked was, um, what would you say is the number one reason why students choose MCPHS or SCCO? So that was a good way to find out what they think is, the number one feature of their school. And, any other questions you have, anything specific about whether the clinic is on campus, so that you don't have to worry about transportation. Um, how the situation is with COVID right now, any lingering questions you have about the scenario. With being an international student, you can ask them what kind of supports do they have, just kind of general questions like that. It's very conversational. Like I said, I was very nervous for my interviews. So I wish you luck for your interviews. But it really is once you get through that first, tell me about yourself. That question, it really is to put you at ease and just realize that it's just a conversation you're having. So yeah,
Perfect. Thanks so much.
yeah, you're welcome. Do you mind if I ask who you're interviewing with?
Yeah, I'm interviewing with ICO and NECO.
Oh, good luck. It's exciting.
Thanks.
I have a quick question as well. What made you choose the 3 schools in the US that you chose to apply to?
Yeah, sure. So I chose MCPHS mainly for the reason that they had the biosimulation technology. So I don't know if you guys are similar with that or familiar with that, sorry. But it's basically like the VR. simulators. So I was really interested in that technology. Not all schools have it. So basically, you put on this VR and you're able to simulate a patient having a special disease or a specific disease, and you're able actually to perform an eye exam just to practice, identifying that disease, what it looks like, using the actual technique in real life, which is really cool. So that was one of the main reasons. And also NCPHS is a smaller university, so their class size is only 60 students, I believe, versus I think SCCO is about 90 students a class. So it's definitely a smaller community. And I grew up in a small town, so I definitely love the smaller class feel. I think that it's more personable. Um, and yeah, that was one of the main reasons. And of course, one thing that I would recommend to do when you're picking schools is to also look at the town that you'd be living in, just to see, is it a college town? Is it a big city? Because that you are going to be living there for 4 years. And MCPHS is located in a college town. So that was definitely another attracting feature for me. There's lots of things to do in your downtime when you're not studying. So yeah, those are probably my three reasons for MCPHS. Um, for Waterloo, it had to do a lot with the financials. Also wanting to stay in Canada. Um, and of course, they have an excellent program as well. I believe they also have the biosim, which was just introduced like the last 2 years. I think they just recently introduced it. So that's also really exciting. As for SCCO, my original attraction to it was it's California. I mean, you can't go wrong with California. But also, as I did my research on their school, their technology is extremely advanced. They have the biosim, but they also have I think it was called an anatomage table. So it's literally it's like a giant iPad the size of a human, and you're able to do actual simulated anatomy courses on them, I guess. So you can actually dissect the human on this table. So that is just a crazy feature. But yeah, so their technology was definitely one of the keen interests that I had in SCCO. And of course, having the opportunity to live somewhere super warm like California was awesome. Yeah, those are my reasons for those top three schools.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I wanted to ask what happens like after you accept your offer? Do they start contacting you like immediately to start working on like a visa and stuff like that? Or do they kind of step back for a bit till like the end of the semester?
So for MCPHS, after I accepted the offer, they send you your official letter. They give you access to their website, so like their student portal, and on there they send you emails. It's kind of like our website at the U of A, where you're able to have access to the next steps that you need to take. I had someone on the admissions team reach out to me to see if I had any questions, and they were really awesome that way. They actually, before I accepted the offer, they actually reached out to me and asked if I had any, lingering questions, and they connected me with a student from Alberta that is attending MCPHS, and I had the opportunity to call her and talk to her about like her experience. So that also helped in accepting that offer. But yeah, so they give you access to their student portal. And from there, that's where you find all your information about your next steps. So for example, I'm kind of on hold right now because I'm waiting to hear back from the University of Waterloo. But as an international student, you need to fill out your IF-20 form, which is kind of the start of your application for your visa. And it's really, well organized. They have an entire list of what you need to do on that website. As you get closer in April, you need to order your lab coats or your official optometry white coat, I guess. So yeah, they're really awesome with, contacting you about what the next steps are. And even if you have any questions, like because I am holding off on the IF-20 form, they said that they're actually going to contact me in March regarding, what the next steps are. So they're really great with reaching out to you without being like too in your face about it, because they do understand that you're still in school. But yeah, they just keep up with you. Like I had to submit my fall 2020 grades. So after you get your grades, you submit those to them. But yeah, that's about it. Everything's on their student portal.
Did they also connect you with other students who may have been accepted from like, because you said they connected you with someone who already went there or is planning on going there?
It was a student who was already there. So that student was in her third year, I want to say. So yeah, they didn't connect me with a student that was applying there, but someone that was already there from Alberta.
Okay.
So that was definitely nice, talking to another international student, just asking them how they managed to pay for it and all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
What schools are you guys thinking of applying to, or if you've already applied, where have you guys applied to?
I have not applied anywhere because I'm in my second year,
Yeah.
but we did have a presentation. I don't know if you were there. The MCPHS one was really nice. So I think if I were to apply, that definitely would be one of the schools I would apply to. Yeah, but there's so many schools in the States, it's kind of tough. And I feel like even the like private schools, I know as international students, we pay the same. It's still so expensive because of the exchange rate.
Yeah.
So it's kind of tough. So I get what you mean by saying you're waiting for Waterloo because
Yeah. It's very overwhelming, the amount of schools that they have and like which schools to pick from, and
yeah,
a lot.
it's like in every state. Like if you look at a map, there's at least one school in every state, which is crazy that we only have one. I feel like they should put one in the west side of Canada.
Well, I heard a rumor that, I don't know if it's true or not, but I heard that they're planning on opening one in BC. I don't know if that's true though. I heard that. Like it won't be in my lifetime, but
yeah, it'll take like another like 40 years.
yeah.
Like everyone will be practicing optometrists or doing whatever they're doing, and they'll like put it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you applying to Waterloo as well?
When I do eventually, I think I probably will. I probably will, but I know how competitive it can be and how many applicants they get and stuff. But I feel like everyone has to try just because it is like the option you always go for.
Mm-hmm.
You said you said you speak French, right? Did you think of applying to the other like French speaking school? I forget what it's called.
The one in Quebec.
Yeah.
I thought about it, but really what deterred me was that, for one, I am planning on coming back to practice in Alberta in English. And for two, it was actually an extra year. So you would have to do 5 years if you were to go there. Because I think you have to do 1 year, a transition year, something about to transfer your credits or something. So yeah, that's why I chose not to, because I'm already in school for 8 years. I didn't want to make it an extra year.
Yeah, no, I get that.
Yeah. But yeah, one thing that I wanted to mention about Waterloo is that it is extremely competitive, and I was actually not even going to apply because I was like, you know what, like my grades aren't that competitive. I knew a student who got accepted there, and he had a 4.0 GPA and he got in, and I was like, oh man, like I do not have a 4.0. Like it's not even worth me applying. But I was like, you know what? I'll just apply and I'll see what happens. And I got an interview or a meet and greet. So, I mean, it doesn't hurt to apply. So I definitely say like, if you're ever like, oh, it's too competitive, I'm not going to get in, doesn't matter, just try.
Yeah, exactly. That's my thought process. Because I know, like, you see on their website, they're like, we accept from this range to this range. But then when you talk to people, they're like, oh, I had a 3.98. And I'm like, okay, that's amazing. And I'm so proud of you. But, like, that's crazy. Like,
Yeah.
It's insane.
And, like, I think a lot of the times, Like even on their websites, this is for the states as well, they advertise that they don't accept any grades lower than if you have a C minus or lower, they don't accept at all. And I actually had one C minus in one of the prereq courses. And you know what, if you just email them and explain your situation, like they will still consider you. Just because you have, one thing that doesn't match their prereqs doesn't rule you out for applying. So I definitely recommend, reaching out to the schools and just applying. Worst case scenario, they say no.
Yeah, yeah. I found that like through talking to schools when they come and they talk to us, they seem like they're very accommodating because they do want students as well. And you do
Yeah.
have to kind of prove yourself, but like they understand. And also with like COVID and all these things, which I didn't think they would be. I felt like it was like an institution and they don't care. They want to see your grade, they want to see this
Yeah.
and that, but they do care, which is nice. And it's nice to hear from someone else too, that
Yeah.
they're open to that.
Hmm.
I was gonna ask, did you ever consider in schools outside of Canada or the US, something in the UK or somewhere else perhaps?
I myself didn't consider. I knew that that was an option, but for myself, I wasn't really interested in going too far. But for those of you who are adventurous and love to travel, I think that would be such a cool opportunity to go, travel or study in, you know, Europe or something. I don't know what the how the prices compare to go study out there. I'm not too familiar with that actually. Um, but yeah, I remember briefly looking at like the schools worldwide, um, and then I was like, oh, I don't want to go that far.
Yeah, I looked at it once and it gets tough with doing like coming back and doing like boards here and stuff like that.
Oh yeah,
I think it would be like a cool experience. I looked at it once and I was like, oh, I don't know. But like it's expensive if you go outside of Canada, so I feel like it's the same.
yeah.
It's nice because the States is still like close-ish, you know what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah, that makes sense though. About I hadn't thought about that, but the boards, yeah, that does make sense. Because I think in the States how it works is if you take the American boards, you can practice in Canada and US, but if you only take the Canadian boards, you can only practice in Canada. I think is how it works.
That's what I've heard, I think.
That's interesting. I don't know why if you take the US, you can study in both, but
Yeah, I don't know what the difference is. You'd have to hear from people who've taken each one, I guess.
yeah. I've heard the US boards are a lot harder.
Yeah,
Maybe
probably. They have a lot more schools, so they have more reasons to make it competitive.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Oh, well, thank you for the presentation. Congratulations on the offers and best of luck in the future.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And yeah, good luck to everyone who's applying as well in the future or this year. And yeah, good luck with the rest of your guys' semester during COVID.
You too.
All right, see you guys.
Thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Bye.